I had more time to think about Plurilcok first quarter results, so I wanted to make another video. Okay, so in my first video on Plurilcok, I said that the difference between companies that are profitable versus companies that are unprofitable is night and day in terms of the valuation. So Plurilcok's revenue profile based on 2023 is 70 million. Now, based on the market cap today, I think the market cap is, closer to 10 million, something like that. That is very attractive. And the results today, or the Q1 results that came out yesterday, they're pretty significant, and we need to understand it more. You see, when I wrote this report, and I showed you the full year financials, I talked about how Plurilcok needs about 10 million of gross profit to even be in the conversation of we're on the way to be profitable. And that's because when you look at the total operating expenses, between 2022 and 2023, they were about 12 million here. In 2022, they were about 14 million in 2023. But after the new CFO came, he initiated certain cost cuts, synergies between the acquired companies of about $2 to $2.5 million of cost savings per year, and they are already starting to show up in the financial statements. So that's why I said that they need to have this operating expense number somewhere closer to 10 million, and with those cost savings, they're going to be closer to this 10 million. So that's why I said the company needs the gross profit in the neighborhood of about 10 million or more to be in the conversation of we are close to being profitable, and then everything would change, right? And in 2023, the gross profit was 5.8 million. So let's call it 6 million. Well, 6 million to 10 million, that's a long way to go, right? It seems like a long way to go. But when we look at those results from Q1, look what we see here. Gross profit, 2.5 million. That's for one quarter. So you take this and you annualize this. We're at 10 million. Right? And when you look at this number, you're like, wow, in one quarter, they had about half of gross profit in one quarter what they had in the entire year last year. Look at this. Last year, the entire year was 5.8 million. And in Q1, they already had 2.5 million. That's why the progress, I think, is so important. And also, they achieved this 2.5 million of gross profit on a lower revenue number. Because look at this. In 2023, the total revenues were 70 million. So if I divide 70 million by 4 quarters, that's on average 17.5 per quarter. That gross profit of 2.5 million was achieved on 11.5 million, not 17.5. And as I said in my previous video, those quarters are lumpy because the orders can be moved from one quarter to another, and exact same thing happened for the first 9 months last year, where first 9 months of 2023 was lower than the first 9 months of 2022, yet for the whole 2023, the revenues were up. That's because of the timing of these orders. So the same thing here. The revenues declined from 2023 to 2024 because of these orders. But by the time the year is finished, more likely the 2024 revenues overall are going to be higher than 2023. But outside of this point, on a lower revenue number, they already achieved 2.5 million of gross profit, and on an annual basis, that would be 10 million, which it would put them in the conversation of being profitable. Now, if the revenues were just at the level of 2023 level, and they would be, closer to this 17.5 million, well, guess what? This number here would be higher than 2.5 million. Yes, the additional revenue would more likely be a lower margin revenue, but still they would contribute to the gross profit. So I would say that probably on a normalized basis, this gross profit would have been closer to 2.7, 2.8, making it on an annual basis closer to 11. Okay, 11 million of gross profit, which would put it significantly towards the conversation of, we're on the way to profitability. One other thing that I wanted to say is that I talked about how the margin expansion was absolutely incredible from Q1 of last year. The gross profit margin was 13.6, and now it went up to almost 22%, right? Which, if you compare it to my report again, look at this margin for the entire year. In 2023, it was 8.31%, and now we are at 22. That's incredible. But if there was more revenue on this side, more revenue closer to that 17.5 million, then this margin would have been lower, because then this, or 2.7 or whatever, would have been divided by a larger revenue number. So I would say that instead of 22%, the gross profit margin would have probably been closer to 17%, right? And 17% in comparison to 13.6%, and in compared to 8.31% is a huge, huge improvement. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say in this video. It's unusual to get involved with a company and immediately they deliver this kind of performance. But for the next quarter, don't expect this number, gross profit margin, to be 22 or higher. It's most likely going to be lower, because more lower margin revenue is going to hit Q2 because of shifting from Q1. So then you will have gross margin being divided by a larger revenue number, which contains more of lower margin business. Also, don't be surprised if the expenses are a bit higher in Q2 and EBITDA actually gets worse. Why? Well, because in Q2 they raised 5.5 million, right? And in Q2 they also started investor relations campaigns. So probably those numbers, the money that they spent on investor relations, probably they're going to be subtracted out in the adjusted EBITDA. So we're going to have to pay attention more to the adjusted EBITDA than just regular EBITDA, or even the operating expenses might be a bit more elevated for those reasons. Anyway, that's it for this video.